Oh, well, hello, my wizards. We are here for round two of the Q&A. Well, we've got some really interesting questions. I don't know if this one's going to be hilarious. There's a lot of deep questions here. Some really, really interesting questions. And I'm actually really excited to answer them for you guys. So we're about to see what we have here. The first question is, what is your greatest fear in life? What's my greatest fear in life? Um, the first one that pops into mind is falling. That's more the physicality of life, like fears, physical fears. I'm terrified of falling from heights, obviously, people, not falling in love or something. But I'd say my greatest fear in life is that I live an unfulfilling life. Um, so the way I try to have a moral code that I live by so that every day I live it the way that I wanted to live it. I think a lot of people out there are living lives based on what they think society deems is appropriate or how they should, or what their parents or their friends think they should be doing. And I don't do that. I live my life my way. And if someone has a problem with that, then, well, I can show you the door. But and I hope that living my life like that will get me to a point where I'm really happy with the way I've lived my life, and then I won't have that fear, right? In a certain point in your life, what hit you at rock bottom? I'm assuming they mean when did I hit rock bottom? My rock bottom was when I was 22. I had a 5-year relationship end. It was a pretty tumultuous ending, not really smooth at all, um, and it was warranted and definitely needed to end. But it was crazy because I lived with this person for 4 years. My life was set up that I would be with this person, and we were planning on having children by. My hope was that by 25, I'm now 27, um, and so on. It seemed like life was planned out. Now I wasn't really that happy anymore, but again, I was living my life the way I talked about a lot of people living their lives if they're not afraid of living an unfulfilling life. So that ended. I had no clue who I was without this person. I didn't know what I wanted in life. I didn't know anything about it. I was in real estate at the time. Um, and it wasn't real estate really it's a self-promoting business. And if you're not in a great mental state, then it's a very hard business to be in. So I financially was in disarray, and I put myself in a really bad spot, and I ended up hitting rock bottom about 5 months after the relationship. And then I ended up moving. I had great help from friends, and I moved out to Alberta and changed my life. I learned a lot out there, and yeah, my rock bottom was when I was 22. But it changed how I looked at life. I needed it. It changed how I interacted in relationships. It changed how I cared about individuals. It changed a lot about me, and it was a wonderful thing, a really wonderful thing. I have a very different outlook on life now, and I'm very grateful for that rock bottom. What did you want to be when you grew up as a kid? I think I answered this actually in my last video. Cop. 99% sure I answered it in my last video. So maybe I'll try to see if let me think if I thought I wanted to be anything else. Um, Movie star. I mean, everyone wants to be a movie star, right? I think everyone wants to be a movie star at some point. That or, oh, writer. Actually, I guess I should go to writer. I love writing. I still write to this day. I've written a few things that I've kept quiet internally, that I haven't shown many people. It's pretty much my family. Yeah, I love to write, and I would have, and even to this day, I'd still be happy to be a writer. If I could earn a living writing, I'd be happy to do that. I love the creativity that flows from it, and be happy to work in many different fields in writing. All right, next one. What do you think about best friends being the opposite gender? That is an interesting one. Um, I think I'm in a pretty good position to answer this because I have way more friends that are women than I do men. I have two really, really good friends that are men. They're both my absolute best friends, um, and they're both married, and I'm very close with their wives as well. But all my other friends are pretty much women, and I don't think there's an issue with that as long as there's an understanding and the relationship's progressed a certain way. It could have been that there's already been something romantic there, so you both know there's nothing romantic anymore. I do think that most men go into relationships, even friendships with women, from the start being that they're interested in them. The way I look at it is you don't go up to a woman and try to get to know her, usually unless you're attracted to her. that means that if you become friends with her, you've got an attraction. But I think you can get to a point where the friendship is where so much that attraction just goes. I do have I have friends myself that at one point I was attracted to them. I'm no longer attracted to them. I would never think of them that way, and we're just great friends. Um, so I don't see an issue with that. I think there has to be a lot of mutual respect there between the two parties, especially if relationships are involved. Um, yeah, I would say that there's no issue. It could be an issue for someone else though. Pardon me, guys. What is your own definition of love? Okay, so I do believe in infatuation. I believe in that puppy dog stage. I believe that you can fall hard for someone. I believe in something called love at first sight, not in the whole sense of love. I think love is truly a choice. I think to love someone is to decide that you want to put them ahead of yourself in any aspect of your life. Caring for them, taking care of them, being there for them, so on and so forth. Such as how I love my best friends. I'd be there for them for anything, doesn't matter what's going on in my life. So my definition of love is that once that infatuation phase ends, that phase of, oh my God, this person's perfect, that phase where you ends, that you start to realize here's some of the flaws they do have. That thing that they did that I used to think was super cute, I'm really annoyed by now. When that stage hits and you have to make that decision, no, this person compliments me, I compliment them, and you know what? I would still want to put them ahead of myself in life. I think that's your decision to love someone. I think that's how you truly uh, end up being in love, when you make that decision, but then it's ingrained in you. I feel that yes, at first it's a decision, but then it's ingrained. It's not a decision every day. I just feel it's a one-time kind of decision. You may end up having to make it again if things happen in your relationship. And I'm looking at love from a relationship standpoint. Obviously, I mean, I will always love my mother without even hesitation. But yeah, I think that's what love is to me, is that decision to put that person ahead of yourself and always care more about them in any given situation. Does nature shape our personalities more than nurture? First, I'm going to go over this just in case anyone's slightly confused. Nature would be, we're born humans, so our inner nature to interact with the world, whereas nurture is what you're taught, how someone raised you, how someone taught you, how you're brought up. So realistically, is your human nature more effective on you than how you're raised as a person? That is a really tough question. Um, I think that nurture can outweigh nature. I think that you can potentially be, say, a very aggressive person, and if your parents raise you right, then they will be able to conquer that. Um, but at the end of the day, human nature can win out on anything. You can take any person that's the most passive person in the world, that was raised unbelievably well to never get angry, to so on and so forth, and you can push them to a point where they're gonna go into human nature, which is to get angry. Um, so I would say nurture shapes our personalities more, because your parents are, you really become your parents. The older you get in life, you find that you really do become your parents, because that's what you were raised with. That's what you're raised around. Whoever you are around most in your life is who you become most. You take little bits from everyone you're around, and that kind of becomes you, and you select the ones that you like and don't like, and so on and so forth. But eventually, I do believe human nature is human nature. It's ingrained in us. But I think nurture does affect our personalities more than nature. Um, Next question. What makes you you? What makes me me? Oh man. I think I look at the world drastically differently than the majority of people out there. Um, I care for people very quickly upon meeting them. I think most people give the majority of the populace trust upon meeting someone and making a friend, but I don't like seeing people hurt. I like helping anyone and everyone I can. I'm really good with people. I understand people, and I think something that's different about me is that if I say something, I mean it. A lot of people these days they talk a big game, but they don't necessarily mean it, or they just want to get people's attention, so on and so forth. If I tell you something that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And that, I think, sadly, is a very rare thing these days. It's a very rare thing, guys. And I hope more people will start following what they say. They'll follow through. I think that's what makes me me, is that you can trust that A, I'm being honest with you, and B, that if I tell you something, then it's going to happen, or it was the truth. And that's what makes me me. If I had a boy or a girl, what would I name them? This is an interesting question. I've had many opportunities with exes to discuss this. And I don't mean because of pregnancy. I just mean you end up having the discussion. Yeah, let's not go over whether there's been any pregnancies. No, so I've always loved Emily or Emma for a daughter. I can't wait to have a little girl. Emma or Emily. I don't know. I love that name. I love the thought of calling my daughter Em. I kind of love that. It's really cool. Feel it like I'm even smiling right now just at the thought of it. Boy's tougher. A boy is tougher. I haven't put nearly as much thought into a boy. But I mean, there's the likelihood of honoring my father or obviously my spouse's father with the first name being their name. And then I don't know where I'd go for there. I've flip-flopped on boys' names for a long time, and I think that'll be something that I discuss far more with my spouse than I will hope that my opinion weighs heavily when it comes to having a daughter, because there's something about Emily or Emma. I've never met an Emma or Emily that I did not like, and I think that plays a big part in it. I've never met one that I thought was unattractive, and I know that sounds weird, but all these things are what play into your perception of a name. There's several names I'm not going to list that I would never choose for my child, because the first time I hear that name, I think of someone that, makes me angry or repulses me, or I don't know how they get through life, things like that. And I think anyone that's watching this can understand exactly what I mean. There's a name that if I said it, you would just be like, no, never naming my kid that. Yeah, Emma or Emily for daughter, though. For son, there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of options. Next question was, what is my favorite animal from Africa? I was about to say tiger because that's my favorite animal, but then I realized as I was sitting here, I was like, no, tigers don't live in Africa. I don't believe there's a tiger in Africa. If someone wants to correct me, let me know, but I'm pretty sure there are no tigers that are in Africa. I may be wrong, but I really don't think there are. So Siberian tigers are like my favorite animal. I just think they're absolutely majestic and gorgeous and incredible. Like, they're just, to me, they're as close to mythical as you can get. I loved dragons for a long time. Obviously, you kind of grow up and realize you can't love something that doesn't exist yet. But if I had to pick something from Africa, and some people may find this, I mean, everyone's going to jump to lion, and that's actually what I'm jumping to. But I have an addendum to that: the female lion. And the reason I say the female lion is because the male lion's friggin' lazy. They are lazy. The female lion does everything. The hunting, it does everything. It does hunting, raising, everything. Female lions go out and defend, right? The only time a male lion does anything is if something gets too close to their pride. And then the male lion just does its thing and roars. And most animals are smart enough to leave. But the female lion does everything. So I would have to say that. I was also then asked what my favorite spider is if I had one. No. Nope. There is, if I had to pick one, I'd say the one that bit Peter Parker. Whichever spider turned Peter Parker into Spider-Man, that's my favorite spider. But I don't have a favorite spider. Yeah. Such a random question. That's you know what, guys? It was a short one, this one. I think they were pretty deep, pretty good questions. And, next time we'll see what we can drum up to answer then. But until then, guys, as always, stay frosty, my wizards.